Ink-a-dink, 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 ink-a-dink. Wow! Oh, good morning. Good Sunday morning to you. Thank you for tuning in. This is Basil BuddhaCat Presents, and Basil and I spent the weekend, at least the first part of the weekend, out on the boat in Candlewood Lake, and had a good time. And Basil's he's quite the boat aficionado. He's got his motorboat, and he says he may have to move to Sherman because Sherman apparently has the highest rate of boat ownership of any town in the area. Those bordering on Candlewood Lake or thereabouts. They include Bethel in the survey, although Bethel doesn't have any waterfront on Candlewood Lake. But working upwards from Bethel with around 1.5 boats per person, per 100 people. Yeah, about 1.5 boats per 100 people. You get to Sherman, and Sherman has about a little over 10 boats per 100 people. So they're number one on that list, and that's where Basil says we may need to set up. So at any rate, Basil wants us to continue our discussion. So we're going to reverse dial, and we're going to ring up. Now we're going to use the Elsie phone this time. Thanks, Elsie. And Bill Murray actually is in the audience still, and has this time he's brought in Elsie, and he's kind of leaning back on Elsie, and thank you for joining us. I know we're supposed to use the piano as you did in Ghostbusters, and call out to the spirit world. And give you credit and use your line. They hate it when I do this. So, let's see. Are we going to get Snoopy the Anagram dog again? Is that who we're counting on? Oh, you said we have to reverse dial. Thank you, Elsie. Tweety, check and see if we've got the proper combination of zeros and ones, and if we've got that digital connection lined up properly. Looks like we have. It's Snoopy the Anagram dog, and he says, particularly on Sunday, you can take that dog and anagram it, and you get a little closer to the truth. Snoopy's got a fairly healthy ego. So we went through some other ones, some anagrams for President Barack Hussein Obama. Snoopy's been helping us out with this. And we started off on Friday night with Bertha Bauds Speak No American. And Birchers, we're switching over to Birchers now, and again, the grandpappies and the pappies and great-great-grandpappies of modern day birthers. Birchers spout insane, make a bad. And remember, we also read Lorax, the Lorax on Friday evening. We're thinking about reading, and just think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, which is an interesting little story by our good friend Dr. Seuss, who we haven't been able to actually get through to. Dr. Seuss is in another place, and he's in the hereafter, and we'll get to him on a future show. But and of course, with the Lorax, we dedicated it to China. May they learn in time. And apparently, China is starting to realize that not being able to breathe in their cities is a tough trade-off for prosperity and job growth and who doesn't really matter if you have a job if you're poisoning yourself and your kids and setting your sights on poisoning the future generations. But anyway, so we also had Insane Birthers Academy, Mob Speak You. Snoopy's added Birther Mania, Sucks and Beeps. And there's a couple extra tiles turned over at the end, which may in fact be exclamation points. I'm not sure. Hold on, Snoopy. We're gonna hang with us, Snoopy. And our good friend Kevin Gallagher sent us along Berserk pub cans, shite. It looks like the word diamonds, but we found out that you'll notice we've got the two A's that were turned over for the last two letters of diamonds, and so the jury's still out on whether Berkshire pub cans, shite diamonds or shite AA, which is of course volcanic magma, and probably is a little rough on the way out of the shiter. So, and of course at the bottom we have the letters which we don't have enough of for President Barack Hussein Obama. We had to borrow them from Basil BuddhaCat Presents! Exclamation point. So at any rate, okay, hold on, Snoopy, you gotta hold for a second because we need to do a little shout out. Okay, hold on. Basil loves his pig. And Trixie and Alice, who were regulars up in Basil's apartment when he lived on the farm in Richfield with Kristen. Trixie and Alice, well, let's just say they're a bit bigger than this pig. And they didn't have purple dots on them. And speaking of purple, 8-ball, now with 50% more ball. Not sure who exactly we're doing that commercial for. And you still with us, Snoopy? Snoopy the Anagram dog. We stole a little Vaseline. Frequent visitor to the show, Ted Nugent, had been using Vaseline to make his moat around his property a little bit more slippery and a little harder to get it for the government to get in and confiscate his 385,000 Uzis. We use Vaseline here on the doorknob to the studio to keep Ted Nugent out. So that's good. So we're protected. Is Tootsie Roll, even the grotesque Latin version, still one of our sponsors? Should we put a plug in for them? Basil said it looks like a plug. So, no, I'm not. I'm not. Basil's convinced that if I fawn on Tootsie Roll, and this is the fun size, which I guess means to say that that back in the day when we used to get ones that were about 5 or 6 times this size at Halloween, that apparently none of those were any fun. They were large and grotesque as opposed to small and grotesque. And all right, I'll do it. No fruit. Okay. Maybe we'll get them back. And we still got a little bit of this watermelon left. Got watermelon. And we're going to do a little shout out to the Georgia watermelon growers. Now, back in the day, which means to say in the mid-1970s, around the bicentennial time, we had a certain member of the cast teaching in Florida at a school for juvenile delinquents called Lancaster Youth Development Center. And the school was located in Trenton, Florida. It became Lancaster Corrections Institute, changed from a population of kids aged 10 to 20, and focused in on adult minor offenders, not minor in age, but ages 20 to 25, adult offenders, small-time criminals, and changed the ownership of the directorship of the school from Department of Youth Services to Department of Corrections, and gave everyone that taught there the opportunity to take a similar job there, or a similar job in one of the other training schools in the state of Florida, or risk layoff. And Basil's heard this story a few times, but the quick response from this member of the cast was, "Lay me off, I'm going back to Connecticut. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God." So, I told you this to tell you that. I told you that to tell you this. Trenton, Florida, which is about 30 miles west of Gainesville, which is a nice little metropolitan city, university with, my gosh, at that time about 35,000 full-time students. I think nowadays it's about 50,000 full-time students. It's got a fair amount of culture, but if you were to step one step out of Gainesville, you were in a country that was not rural, but rural in the sense that it was farm country. A lot of farmland, a lot of small farms, which have probably become large farms since then. And the northern Floridian farmers and the southern Georgian farmers, hold on. Georgia watermelon. And it's seedless. When are they going to come up with a waterless watermelon, Basil? I think that might be a big seller. I mean, you could take it in your, you take a pouch of it with you, and you can reconstitute it into water-containing watermelon. Just something to consider. We'll have to do a little focus marketing on that, a little test marketing, and see how that plays out. So I told you that to tell you this. So Florida, the northern Floridian farmers, which is about the top third of Florida, almost all the way down to Ocala, and the southern Georgian farmers had this argument over who were the real crackers. Now, crackers is a term that comes from the slavery days in the United States, and it refers to whip crackers. And the argument didn't go like this. That's a disgusting term. You're the real crackers. It went actually like this. No, said the northern Floridian farmers to the southern Georgian farmers. We're the real crackers. And likewise the southern Georgian farmers to the northern Floridian farmers. No, we're the real crackers. Now they had not even tried to grab onto the term rednecks, because rednecks, as we know, are that's trademarked by Alabamans. So the Floridians and the Georgian farmers, they weren't gonna go for that. They weren't gonna try for that. But they had this cracker term to dispute with each other. Okay, so You still there, Snoopy? Okay. So, let's see, we're at Birthermania Sucks and Beeps. And Snoopy also came up with insane birthers make up bad association, ASSOC, short for association. Insane birthers make up bad association. Okay. Now this one I don't quite understand. Asia birther made pubcan, and in this case pubcan is with a K for can. Asia birther made pubcan scones. Or Asia birther made or Matt, I'm not sure which one. Pubcan scones. Okay, now oh, I see the letters are a bit separated. That explains that. Okay, also rabid pubcans sheet on America. And that may be a reference to the sheets that are making a comeback in the birther crowd. Okay. And again, Snoopy the Anagram dog, or as he refers to himself on Sunday, Anagram dog this. Anagram dog. And see what you get. He's taken the letters in President Barack Hussein Obama and anagrammed them, and another one. Birther Maniacs Bake POS. End USA. Okay, thank you, Snoopy the Anagram dog anagrammed. Okay, did you want us to, Snoopy, we appreciate you allowing us to call you, but Basil, is there someone else you want us to have a conversation with Sunday? We're gonna, Snoopy took offense and hung up. Okay, well, okay. And again, thank you, Bill Murray. Oh! When we looked over there before, Bill Murray was leisurely lying back, not on the hammock that he built for himself, but on Elsie the cow, and we see Elsie's not there anymore. So, what do you... Okay, big phone, okay? Big guest, big phone, important guest. Thank you for calling Basil BuddhaCat Presents. A blessed Sunday morning to you. It's Elsie. She says she's back in the hereafter. She made a quick visit to the show. Had a chat with Bill Murray and a call from Texas. Area code 210-714-3466. Anybody want to get that? And are they trying to sell us one of their products? Okay, so I'll see. Hold on, I'll see while we send that to voicemail. Okay, Elsie says she's a bit miffed. She's a bit perturbed because it seems that somebody else apparently called in using her ringtone. And Elsie, hold on a second. I'm not going to disconnect you, hopefully, but I'm just going to remind the audience. Elsie said, "That's right." Okay. Do you have something else to chat about? Okay. Elsie says she's now living on her own palatial estate in the Colorado section of Cloudland, as she calls it. But she used to live on a farm in Florida. Says that's back in the day when cows actually munched on grass in the field, rather than spending virtually all of their time hung up in factory like conditions, and not milked by the gentle hands of human beings, but by they're milked by very uncomfortable and cold, she adds, cold machinery. Okay, so yeah, that's quite a bit of imagery, Elsie. But anyway, we're going to get back to we've got Snoopy, who's going to call back in a moment, and don't blame Snoopy if he calls back in on your ringtone, because okay, Elsie says you better change that ringtone because that's her ringtone. Okay, thanks for calling. Almost like we planned it that way. Good Sunday morning. Welcome to Basil BuddhaCat Presents. Yep, it's Snoopy again. And Snoopy says, remember, on Sunday morning, Snoopy would prefer Snoopy the Anagram dog with dog anagrammed. Okay, now Snoopy also sent us along these, now where were we? Birther Maniacs Bake POS and USA. Okay. And Snoopy's also taken the letters in President Barack Hussein Obama. And what made what looks like, although I see some blanks, some letters maybe turned over, AK, which is either Alaska or for short for AK-47. Although Alaska actually, I believe, is the either the 49th or 50th state. I think Alaska is actually the 49th state. So AK-47, you're off by 2. But at any rate, AK birthers made no public sense. That's not it's not public, is it? Well, I guess they don't make that kind of sense either. But at least they've got apparently. Hold on. Apparently got. Yeah, Basil was in a running commentary with some folks about this birther thing last night on Patriot Update, and actually we were talking about they circulated a story that claimed that President Obama is going to endorse Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, in 2016 for president, and there was a lot of clatter about that, and Basil says, "Hey, I hope it's true." I mean, obviously, Senator Warren is a lot closer to President Obama's positions on issues than Hillary Clinton. There's circulated stories recently about Senator Clinton being in the process of cutting a deal with the neocons. And Basil likes to throw in, Basil says not just neocons, because of course neocons are conservatives who abide by the belief that the United States, in order to form a more wealthy weapons industry, should barge into other nations and cause mayhem, like Iraq, as an example. And but there's also a group called Basil calls them the neo-libs, and as opposed to neoconservatives who talk about social issues. Well, they talk about it differently depending upon what group they're talking to. they purport to be conservative on social issues, whereas neo-libs are with the neocons on this nation-building notion, or notion-building nation. But they have they're socially liberal, and that's what separates the two groups. But Basil says screw them both, because they both stink, and they both use those social issues as a means of raising money from people to fight for their point of view, which they really don't care about, either the neocons or the neo-libs. So Snoopy, the anagram dog, or the anagram of dog, Snoopy, also has birther ad makes no public sense. And speaking of birther ad, we're going to have to take a moment to do a couple quick ads, because cha-ching, we got to pay the bills. I'm going to put you on hold for a second, Snoopy, time permitting. We have got one more. You know what? Let's slip in Snoopy's last anagram. Birthers pick a bus, and there's a bunch of blanks here. There's 4 of them. Birthers pick a bus and a nose, which brings up the interesting question: well, Jimmy Durante, where was he in all this stuff? Okay, finish up with our commercials, and that'll be it. Thanks for calling. What do we call him? Okay, we've got just enough time left to Dermacell now with 25% more. We still haven't heard from the labs as to what 25% more of what, but in due time perhaps we'll find out. PAW, Paw, root beer, since 1919. Now for the older crowd, Schweppervescence, since 1783. Okay. We also need to get in 8-ball now with 50% more ball. And I hear Ted Nugent's hand trying to turn the knob on the studio door, but we have taken some Vaseline, and more than likely he'll find an alternative use for that Vaseline. Maybe he can find himself another, hold on, yeah, find himself another 10-year-old girl like he did when he was writing Cat Scratch Fever. Okay, so that's it. And with that, Matrix. Not to be confused with Matrix Corporate Center. Or Matrix Corporate Center, not to be confused with The Matrix. And blessed Sunday morning, and we'll see you next week.
They say they'd rob your grandma blind on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Fritter her away her Medicare on Wall Street. And Pharma Oil and their pet fox don't care if she lives in a box, so long as they wear platinum jocks on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Meow.